بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us to discharge this obligation and this pillar of our Islam. We are here to learn about Zakat. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, Ya Abu Dhar, O Abu Dhar radiyallahu an, if you learn one ayah of deen, one ayah of the Quran, if you memorize and learn one ayah of the Quran, it's better than performing 100 nafal rak'ah. And if you learn about one chapter of deen, babun min al-ilm, it is better than 1,000 nafal rak'ah. So we should have istihdar of this fadila, of this virtue. Inshallah, this would be 1,000 nafal rak'at right here. Inshallah. And we came to learn this knowledge. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man kharaja fi talab al-ilmi fahuwa fi sabilillahi hatta yarji'a." The one who comes out to learn the knowledge of deen is in the fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah, until he returns home. وَإِنَّ الْمَلَائِكَةَ لَتَضَعُ أَجْنِحَتَهَا رِضًا لِطَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ. And the angels, they spread forth their wings out of happiness and honor of the student of knowledge, inshallah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, those who are here in itikaf last year, this is a different PowerPoint. So there are different masail here. If you think, oh, I've been there, done that, I know this, then inshallah it'll be a refresher as well as a different presentation. This is by Mufti Faraz, subhanallah, another great scholar. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Bunya al-Islamu ala khamsin." Islam is based on 5 pillars. It's not 50 pillars or 20 pillars or 30 pillars or 10 pillars. It's only 5 pillars. شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وصوم رمضان وحج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا. The center pillar being shahada, and the 4 pillars, salat, zakat, sawm, and hajj. So zakat is 1/5 of our Islam. It is a major pillar of our deen, and we should take it very seriously. So, and it is something which is proven the fardiyah from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it to be followed in the Quran. Aqimu salata wa atu zakah. Establish salah and discharge the zakah together. The ibadah badaniya, ibadah maliyah. The physical worship and the financial worship are mentioned together. Likewise, it is mentioned in the sunnah, there are rewards for discharging zakah, and there are punishments for withholding the zakah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that those who do not discharge their zakah, يَوْمَ تُحْمَى عَلَيْهَا فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمْ فَتَقْوَى بِهَا جِبَاهُهُمْ وَجُنُوبُهُمْ وَظُهُورُهُمْ. The gold and silver and their money will be heated up in the fire of Jahannam, and it will be branded on their foreheads, on their backs, on their sides. And it will be said to them, هَذَا مَا كَنَزْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ. This is the gold that you hoarded for yourselves. فَذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْنِزُونَ. So taste that which you used to hoard. May Allah protect us. Allah. So this is a severe warning. In the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, after Rasulullah left this world, there were some people who said that they became murtads and they became renegades and they followed the false prophets, Musaylamatul Kadhab and Aswad Anasi and Tulayha. Then there were others, other threats were that the Roman Empire, Persian Empire, they were going to attack Islam and Muslims in the capital. Particularly the Roman Empire was ready to squash Islam because they felt there was a power vacuum, the leader is gone. After Rasulullah left this world, let us destroy these Muslims. So there were so many threats. And at the same time, there was one group, they said that we will continue to remain Muslims, but we won't give zakat anymore. We won't give zakat anymore. So these were the mani'in of zakah. So some people, they told Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu that just leave them alone because we have so many other bigger threats. But he said that, no, those who deny zakah, then I will wage jihad against them. لو منعوني عقالا. If in the time of Rasulullah they used to give the camel with the rope and they just give me the camel without the rope, I will still wage jihad against them. There is a gray Honda Odyssey is blocking. Please remove it right away. V569644. V569644. Gray Honda Odyssey. It's blocking people. Should be no reason blocking. It's not Khatam night. Khatam night there will be no announcements made because there will be double parking. But here at this time, Dhuhr, it should be okay. So there are many fadail of zakat, many virtues of zakat, and warnings for not giving zakat, and the importance of fardiyah. That is just a refresher to remind us, so we're in the proper frame of mind. However, this course is about the masail. So there are fadail and then there's masail. So we want to jump right into the masail. Zakat linguistically in the Arabic language means purity, like tazkiyatul qulub, purifying the heart, comes from the same word. Praise, and it also means growth. يقول العرب زكى الزرع إذا نما. They say the Arabs, they will say zakah zar'u. There's zakah in the crops. That means the crops are growing. خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم بها. Allah Ta'ala says, take the sadaqah, O Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, from their wealth, the zakat, the farad sadaqah, and this will purify them. So it has a meaning of purification as well. When you give your zakat, you discharge your zakat, it purifies the remainder wealth. And it gives barakah and growth to the remainder wealth. يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَى وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. Allah destroys the money and your economy through riba, and Allah allows it to grow through sadaqat. If somebody has $10 and he gets interest, he lends it out at interest and he gets $12 back, so you'll say that 10 became 12. And if he gives $2 in sadaqah, then 10 became 8. So how can 8 be greater than 12? Why? How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that turbi sadaqat, He increases the sadaqat and He decreases the riba? So we'll say common understanding is 12 is greater than 8. This means that our way of quantifying wealth our way of measuring wealth by quantifying it is inherently incorrect. We cannot measure wealth by quantifying it. Otherwise, 12 is greater than 8. No one's going to say 8 is greater than 12. But the way to truly measure wealth is how much benefit you derive from that wealth, not how many numbers there are. So the one who will have 8 after giving $2 sadaqah out of the 10, then he has 8 left over, he will benefit more from that 8. And he will have more happiness and contentment and peace with that 8. Versus the one who has the 12, he will have more problems and anxieties and worries and difficulties with that 12. That is the meaning of Allah will destroy the economy through through riba and increase it through sadaqah. Islamic law, the istilah in the terminology of fiqh, the meaning of zakat is tamliku ba'di malin jazman ayyanahu ash-shari'u li faqirin muslimin lillahi ta'ala. Tamliku is the first word. It means transferring the ownership, making sure the recipient of zakat actually becomes a true owner of that money. That's tamlik. To transfer the ownership and to give the money ba'd malin jazman, a fixed amount of specified wealth. How much is fixed? Is 2.5%. Which wealth? We are going to cover that. Ayyanahu shari'u, the one that was determined by the sharia, li faqirin muslimin, to a needy Muslim. Faqir means needy person. It cannot be a sahibun nisab, as we will come across this term now. The one who is a possessor of the minimum threshold called nisab, he cannot be a possessor of nisab. Then that is a definition of who is poor. It is not a subjective term. You can figure out and decide who you regard as poor and who you don't regard as poor. There is a specific poverty threshold for zakat purposes determined by the Sharia. And Muslimin means that it has to be a Muslim, because we cannot give zakat to non-Muslims. We can give nafal sadaqah to non-Muslims. Lillahi ta'ala, it's only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it's for gaining name and fame, then that is not zakat. That'll be waste. That'll be futile. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, aqimu salata wa atu zakah, dozens of places. Establish salah, prayer, and give the zakah. In the Sunnah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna Allah qad aftarada alayhim sadaqatan fi amwalihim tu'khadhu min aghniyaihim faturaddu ila fuqaraihim fi fuqaraihim." Sahih Bukhari. Allah has made it obligatory to pay zakat upon their assets. Should be taken from the wealthy amongst them and given to the poor amongst them. That is, based on this hadith, it is recommended that if the zakat can be given, if they are needy people locally, then the zakat should be given to them. Because it says, fi amwalihim, in their wealth, min aghniyaihim, from their rich, fuqaraihim, to their poor. If all the Muslims in the world were discharging their zakat, of course that would be the end of global poverty, and there would be no one dying from malnutrition, and everyone would have enough to eat. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, and these global banks, they would be out of business giving on interest to developing countries, because their needs would be fulfilled through zakah. Why zakat? I'm starting from 12 o'clock on top. It is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moving on the right clockwise. Of course, it's the command of Allah. Allah is our boss and we are His slaves, so we follow what Allah orders us, simple as that. It purifies the soul from greed and wealth from impurity. So this is where the meaning of tazkiyah, purification, comes in. So it purifies the two things. It purifies the wealth from the impurity, and it also purifies the heart from greed. So tazkiyah of the qalb is happening, tazkiyah of the mal is happening. Then promotes circulation of wealth within the community. So it is taken from the rich and given to the poor. This creates circulation of wealth within the community. Now on the bottom, it is the right of the needy. Allah Ta'ala says, وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ. There is a right in your wealth, لِسَائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ, for the one who is asking, the one who is deprived. Bridges the gap between the affluent and needy. It creates muhabba and love between them, and reduces inequality in amount of wealth between the rich and poor. Sometimes, this objection might come. People will say that why should we give money to those that Allah Ta'ala kept them poor? أَنُطْعِمُ مَنْ لَوْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ أَطْعَمَهُ إِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه. When it is said to the disbelievers that we need to, when it is said to them that we need to spend in the path of Allah and help those who are needy, قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا, the disbelievers say to the believers, أنطعم, do you want us to feed? من لو يشاء الله أطعمه. If Allah wished, He could have fed him directly. If Allah decreed that they should not be fed, why should we feed those who Allah left hungry? This is a system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He wanted to test different people in different ways. So He tested those He gave wealth to see if they will discharge the zakat and sadaqah and help those who are needy. And He tested those who did not give wealth to see if they will make sabr and be patient on the trials. So even if a person is enjoying good conditions, he's actually being tested by Allah. Will he make shukr for those blessings, fulfill the rights of those blessings? If a person is being deprived by Allah, he's being tested by Allah. Will he make sabr and be patient over these trials? Everyone is under a test. So this is the wisdom of Allah. He decided in His infinite wisdom who should be tested with abundance of wealth, who should be tested with not having enough means. Both are under the test. If there were no needy people, then you would not have an opportunity to give zakat. Subhanallah. There is one interesting thing I recall that, subhanallah, I was reading the tafsir of this ayah. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu la tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal adha. Subhanallah. O those who believe, this is Surah Al-Baqarah, the third juz. La tubtilu sadaqatikum. Do not cancel out and invalidate your sadaqat. All your sadaqat will become zero, no thawab. Bil-manni wal-adha, by thinking in your heart that you have done a favor to the one you give your zakat, or by hurting them, by showing off. So in the tafsir of this, okay, that is profound as it is the translation, that if you think you have done a favor, then your zakat will not be accepted. Subhanallah. The sharih or the mufassir, he wrote under that that on the when you are giving your zakah to the needy person, to the indigent, poor, faqir, and miskin, if you have any doubt, regarding this haqiqah and this reality, that on the Day of Judgment you are going to be in greater need of the thawab of this sadaqah, then how needy that faqir is of your money today. You are going to be in greater need of the thawab of this sadaqah and zakah on the Day of Judgment compared to the need of this needy person of your money today. If you have any doubt regarding this fact, then your sadaqah is cancelled out. You will not receive the reward under this ayah. We should be convinced of the fact that we ourselves, the giving hand, is in greater need of the thawab and would be in a greater difficulty and adhab on the Day of Judgment, eternally in Jahannam, if we do not discharge the zakat compared. So we are in a greater loss than the loss of the recipient who is hungry and thirsty. Because if he dies out of hunger and thirst, if he dies out of dehydration, he does not have water, he does not have any of the basic necessities of life, then that is a temporary pain. And whereas if we do not discharge our zakat, that is a permanent pain. SubhanAllah. So there is no opportunity, as they say, ihsan jatana, to say that I have done a great favor. This is called man. La tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni. Mannun means to regard you have done a favor. There is no opportunity for us to do that. Virtues and admonitions in relation to zakat. Starting from the left, because English is read from left to right. Otherwise, we can start from the right. Let's start from the right on the bottom. Those who spend their wealth in Allah's way by night and day. الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُم فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, that means in the path of Allah, بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, by night and day. سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً, secretly and publicly. When do you do it secretly? When do you do it publicly? When you want to hide the identity of the recipient, then you should be done preferably secretly. And when it is a public project, like everyone knows that the construction requires funds. If any construction of a school, like a madrasa, like in this case, or an orphanage or a hospital, it requires funds. So there you can give publicly. Sirrun wa alaniya. That way you will encourage other people. They will have the reward with their Lord. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. They will have no fear, no grief. Now in the middle, on top, and those who hoard gold and silver and do not spend it, they will have painful punishment on that day. It will be heated in the fire of Jahannam. I mentioned this ayah already. Next one, Allah destroys interest and gives increase for charities. يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. I mentioned that. The last one on the left, the example of those who spend their wealth in the path of Allah, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ, like a seed. And it'll become 700 times. وَاللَّهُ يُضَاعِفُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. So Allah will multiply the reward. What are the conditions for zakat? Now we are entering fiqh. We went from the masail virtues, now we are entering the technicalities. Conditions for zakat being wajib. If these conditions are fulfilled, then you have to give zakat. You have to be a Muslim. If you're not a Muslim, there is no zakat farad on you. There's no salah farad on you, there's no zakat, there's no hajj. You can't go for hajj even if you want to. So for a non-Muslim, what is farad on a non-Muslim? The farad on a non-Muslim is to take the shahada. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. After they take the kalima shahada, then everything else comes farad on them. So this is the distinction about the ahkam and the furu' and all the injunctions of Islam apply after taking shahada. Before taking kalima shahada, they do not apply. The prohibitions don't apply to. For example, selling wine is haram for a Muslim, but for a non-Muslim, even within an Islamic government, in the true Darul Islam, it's permitted for them to buy and sell wine and pork. You won't go and tell them this is haram. Why you won't tell them it's haram? First you invite them towards Islam. Tell them to believe in Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and believe amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rasulihi wal yawmil akhir. After they accept the faith, then the injunctions apply. That's why first condition is Musliman, to be Muslim, adult. Because minors, there is no zakat on minors. There is no shari ahkam on minors. Fasting is not farad on minors. Salah is not farad on minors. Zakah, hajj, any of the obligations. What is the definition of a minor? What is the definition of adult? Is when they hit the age of puberty. So when they physically become mature, they're considered baligh, and they're considered an adult. This is a big problem with our society. In our society, they're still teenagers, children. They're treated like kids, and they're not given any responsibility as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15, into, there's under 18 have different exemptions, and then under 21, then they're treated like adults. Whereas in our Sharia, there's no adolescent age, either a minor or major. So they were given responsibilities and they were trained in such a manner. That's why we had examples of Muhammad ibn Qasim al-Thaqafi, 17 years old, he's conquering Sindh, and Tariq ibn Ziyad, 19 years old. If he was 17 years old, he barely got his driving license in today's time. So, and another thing about adults, children to note is that if there is a child and you have given the money in his account and it's his college fund in his name, then there is no zakat on that. If he's 1 year old, 2 years old, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If the girl becomes baligh at 10 or so, that may be fine. Then the zakat will become wajib. Or for a boy, he becomes baligh when he's 13. Aapko koi cheez chahiye? Can I help you? Okay. So, if agar aap zarur baat karna ho to bahar tashreef lage. So, then if they are minors, there is no zakat, but when they become major, zakat will be there. But at the same time, now we treat them as kids. So we need to make sure that if we are giving zakat on their behalf, we inform them and we get their consent. Because innamal a'malu bin niyat. So say you have a 15-year-old son, you don't want to tell him that you have put so much money in his college fund in his name. So what happens is that you are giving the zakat. People are giving the zakat since they are minors. That's not necessary. That's not such a big problem because they're paying that which was not due, so it becomes nafal sadaqah. But it needs to be corrected that it was not necessary. Likewise, after becoming baligh, if you are giving the zakat on their behalf, you're not even telling them, then it will not be ada. It will not be ada. Why will it not be ada? It will not count because their niyat is not there. Their niyyah is not there. Innamal a'malu bin niyat. So you have to tell them that I have kept some money in your name and I'm discharging the zakat of it. Do you give me? You don't have to give them the statements and the balance. You can just say that there's some money in your name for your college fund or for your future. I have set it aside. Do you give me the permission to discharge the zakat on your behalf? And they say yes, then you can give it. Number 3 is sane, aqil. A person who's majnoon is ghayr mukallaf, is not binding for him to any of the injunctions of the Sharia. Owner and possessor of wealth equaling nisab, that is the threshold. If a person does not have the wealth equaling nisab, that person is considered a faqir, a poor person. And the poor person is now a valid recipient, can receive zakat money, doesn't have to give, can receive. Owning nisab amount after a lunar year. If you own the nisab amount, but you only have it in your possession for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or even 9 or 10, 11 months, not 12 lunar months, which is a few days shorter than the solar month, Qamari year, Islamic year. If it's less than Qamari Islamic year, then you still do not have to discharge zakat because you have not been in possession of a nisab for full lunar year. This is where we come to the middle category. Is there anyone who cannot receive zakat and also does not give zakat? Yes. Who is the one who does not? Normally you would think that, okay, if he's not giving, he's receiving. If it's not obligatory on him to discharge, then he is a legitimate recipient. There could be this middle category. A person who does not have nisab, he doesn't have to give, but he can receive. Person has nisab and a year has passed, he cannot receive, he must give. How about the middle one who has the nisab but not a whole year has passed? Since he has nisab, he cannot take. Since a year has not passed, he doesn't have to give. So if a person was poor and ended up having savings equivalent to nisab, but a year has not passed, he doesn't have to give zakat because a year hasn't passed, but he cannot receive because he is in possession of a nisab as well. So that is a middle question, trick question. What is the nisab? We've been talking about nisabs. In gold, is 20 misqal. Now what is a misqal? We don't use misqals anymore. So it's 87.48 grams. They rounded up 87.5, you might have seen places too, grams of gold, or its equivalent in cash. And silver is 612.36 grams, or its equivalent in cash. This is the nisab. For gold and for silver. Now, how much in tola? In tola, it's 7.5. I have it. I'll give it out to you in tolas as well. Yeah, so it's pretty much, yeah, 8.7, because 10 grams is a tola. So 8.7, and then you have in 61 tolas of silver. Right. If you only possess gold, then you will use the gold nisab. If you only possess silver, then you use a silver nisab. Now, generally, the silver nisab is less, because when you transfer it into cash, when you translate it into cash, then the silver nisab is much less. So let me just look at it right now. I'll tell you what is the current value of 612.36 grams of silver. Is very less. It's only $330.96. They're in silver. So this is what we have on our website, on our homepage, the Zakat Nisab. So that is why, if you possess mixed assets, like we possess dollars, it's neither gold nor silver, it's dollars. So for dollars, do you go with the gold nisab or silver nisab? So we used to go, and the fatwa used to always be, and that's what we have on our website too, that go with that which is anfa' lil fuqara, that which is more beneficial for the poor. So zakat would become wajib as soon as you have the nisab equivalent to silver. But many scholars nowadays are saying, since the price of silver has dropped so significantly, and the gold nisab is a valid nisab, and it has maintained its price, the gold versus silver, so you can even go with the gold nisab. So the gold nisab, you just have to calculate it. Take 87.48 grams times the price of gold, it'll be significantly higher. We can do that at the end. So that is what it's saying. If you possess only gold, go with the gold nisab. If you possess silver, go with the silver. If you possess mixed assets, there are both fatwas. If you want to be more safe and more ihtiyat, you can go with silver. If you want to, you may also go with the gold. Now, this is one of the more confusing parts that people have a basic misunderstanding regarding this cycle of calculating zakat. So let us really understand this part. The day you own the nisab amount after deducting liabilities. So pencil this Islamic date in your diary. The first time a person is earning money, and the first date that he gets to the point where he owns $350, for example, $500 savings. After he spends everything, he has that much savings. That is the Islamic date. That is the beginning of your ownership of a nisab. And that is where your clock starts ticking and your year starts counting. And then, during the year, it makes no difference whether your wealth increases or decreases. During the year, you might have thousands coming in, or you might have less. It doesn't make a difference. One lunar year later, on that original due date, on that date, if you possess the current nisab amount, after deducting liabilities on that very same Islamic date, whatever debts you have, you remove them, and whatever your net assets are, if you calculate it, and it's still above nisab, then you must pay 2.5% on your wealth as zakah. Right here, slide number 3, let's pause. What that means is, there's this whole concept of 1 year passing. So people get confused. They'll say that just 2 months or 1 month before my due date, I inherited so much money. It's only been in my possession for 1 month. I sold my house and I have this cash for 1 week before my due date. Do I have to give zakat on it? I didn't keep it in my account for 1 year. Isn't it supposed to remain in your bank account for 1 year? So the thing is, The passing of 1 year is not on the dollar and cent. The passing of 1 year is on the person. If the person is an owner of a nisab a year ago, and after 1 year he's still owner of a nisab, then he has to give zakat on 2.5%. If you want to calculate every single penny remaining in your possession for 1 year, that will become very difficult. For example, if a person receives a $2,000 paycheck every 2 weeks, and he saves $100 from that, he spends $1,900 and he saves $100. Every 2 weeks he saves $100. So that means if you have to calculate that the money remains in your account for 1 year, as soon as it remains in your account for 1 year, you have to give zakat. What does that mean? Every 2 weeks of the year, he'll be giving zakat on $100. Will we do? Why? Because $100 was in his possession for 1 year, and 2.5% means $2.50 he has to give every 2 weeks. Are you going to be discharging zakat every 2 weeks, or are you going to discharge it once a year? What do you think? Once a year. So that's why, in fact, and it is so simple. The simplicity of the masla is that they think, no, I'm not getting it, I'm missing something. You're not missing anything. That's how simple it is. All you do is, on your due date, you calculate how much nisab you have, how much assets you have, minus liabilities, and just give 2.5% of that. That's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about the fluctuation. It works. It's not only against you that if you inherited wealth or you had a big influx of cash because you sold a property 1 week, 1 month before, and you have to give zakat. It works the other way too. How does it work the other way? La qaddarullah, may Allah forgive, may Allah make it easy. That if a person had, $10,000 in the bank savings, but just 1 week before his due date, huge medical expenses and bills came, huge accidents came, huge difficulties came, and he had to discharge. And he had to spend it all. And he only has now $500. So even though he had for 12 months, practically almost 12 months, $10,000 sitting in his bank, on the due date, he gives zakat on how much? $500. So it works both ways. This process will continue. Okay, now when we're talking about the due date, some people will say that, I don't remember when was the first time, mashallah, I've been earning for years. So the thing is, we should have done this from before. But if we didn't, or somebody recently started earning too, if that applies, what you can do is you can reset your date so that you give it in Ramadan. For example, you pencil in that date, it was in Muharram. So Muharram, Safar, Rabiul Awwal, Rabiul Thani, Jama'at Ula, Jama'at Thani, Rajab, Sha'aban, Ramadan. It's still not 12 months yet, because there's Shawwal, Zil Qa'dah, Zil Hajjah coming. But you say, I want to prepone in my zakat and give it after 7 months, after 8 months. And you just give your zakat. And then next year, you are recalibrating your date. And next year, you can give your zakat in Ramadan. 1 year, you give your zakat earlier, and then after that, every year you can give in Ramadan. What's the benefit of giving in Ramadan? من أدى فريضة فيه كان كمن أدى 70 فريضة فيما سواه. If you fulfill the obligation in Ramadan, you get the reward of 70 times. So if you give your zakat any other month, 1 zakat thawab. If you give it in Ramadan, 70 times. So buy one, get 70 free. It's an unbeatable deal. Unmatchable. So that's why people prefer to, and it makes sense to give your zakat in Ramadan. If you're making tawbatillah and first time giving zakat in our life because we never did, start giving it in Ramadan and give it every year in Ramadan. And try your best to calculate for the past years. This process will continue unless you have wealth equaling less than nisab amount, or all of one's wealth is lost. Yeah. So this means if a person loses all of his wealth, so when we are saying in the box number 2, it says it makes no difference whether the wealth increases or decreases during the course of the year. This means that if there is fluctuation in your wealth, don't worry about it. Don't have to keep tabs and continually counting, oh, my money increased, decreased. However, if your money decreases to the extent that you go into the negative, you go into zero, That will affect the counting of your year. On your zakat due date, for example, you discharge your zakat on 20th of Ramadan. So after 20th of Ramadan, a person had money, and it goes up. He had 5,000, then it became 10,000, then it became 15, then it became 7, then it became 10, then it became 12, then it became 9, different thousands. Doesn't have to worry about that fluctuation. However, if a big calamity came and he went down to $0 or negative in debt, is his year counting continuing? No, it stops. When he comes back and becomes owner of over $350 or the Nisab amount, then his new year will start from that point. That's what they're saying. The year counting of the year. So for example, in Ramadan 1439, he discharged his zakat on Ramadan 20 and now his new year starts. So he has money. But 6 months down the line, he has a debt. He goes into debt and he does not have any savings. So, and alhamdulillah, he rebounds back after a month and he has money. So 5 months later, when his zakat due dates come, is it 1 year? It's not going to be considered 1 year, because during the course of the year, he went down to 0. So after he regained money, then his year started ticking from that point. Zakatable assets. These are what you have to give zakat on. You have to give zakat on gold and silver. Whether we're using it as jewelry or in bars or coins, all types of gold and silver. Whether the woman is wearing it as jewelry or it is in forms of biscuits or wafers or bars or coins. Cash, of course, dollars and any currency. Business stock, owning percentages of businesses. If you own a business, or any stock in trade. This is called urud tijara. That means you buy anything with the intention of selling it for profit. So you will have to give zakat on that stock. That is business stock. There are details of agricultural produce and animals and livestock which majority of people are not involved in. So we'll skip over those. Non-zakatable items are jewelry. If you are involved in farming, we can talk to me later, inshallah. You can talk to me later if you're involved in farming. Non-zakatable items are jewelry besides gold and silver, meaning platinum or anything which is not gold and silver, does not have any amount of gold and silver in it. What about diamonds? Diamonds are very, artificially made precious by decreasing the supply on the world market and hyping it up through marketing. Otherwise, there are so many diamonds, it wouldn't even be a precious stone. It would be like a semi-precious stone. But this is something artificially created. So they're stones. They're like landscaping stones outside. Diamonds, rubies, emeralds, they're just stones. From the zakat perspective, they're considered stones. I love you so much, so I bought you a stone. So this whole thing, this has been implanted in the minds that diamond is a sign of love. This is, you love your wife, make me rich. If you don't make me rich, you haven't proven your love. This is the marketing. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. From the fiqh perspective, there is no zakat on diamonds. But if you are weighing the jewelry and it has some stones, now if you want to be super penny pinching, you can try to calculate the weight of those stones, real or fake, zirconium, whatever it is, and minus it, or you can just let it go and treat the whole piece as gold. Technically, you're allowed to minus it. Cars and all vehicles, there is no zakat on vehicles and cars. Properties means that if you own it to live in, if you own it and you're renting it out on, then there's zakat on the rent accrued, not on the value of the property. If you're owning the land and you kept it there, you don't know what you're going to do with it, there's no zakat on it. If you buy and sell properties, buy, sell, you buy it only with the intention of selling at a profit, then this land is not now considered just a normal property. This will be considered stock in trade. This is considered malut tijara. Then the zakat would be calculated on the value of that land. It's like if a person is buying and selling goods, he has to give zakat on that stock he's buying and selling in his inventory. Likewise, this land you're buying only to sell, you're flipping it, then you'll have to give zakat. There is no zakat properties on lease, as I just mentioned. Electronic appliances, household appliances, there's no zakat on any of the above. These are all non-zakatable items that you would have imagined that there is zakat on. There is no zakat on these. So again, green check means zakatable and red is non-zakatable. So gold and silver for personal use, yes, is zakatable. White gold is not yellow gold, it has gold content, so it'll be zakatable. So for example, when you have the carats, the purity of the gold is based on 24 out of the unit of 24. So if there's 24 karat gold, so 24 out of 24 is 1. 1. So you take that times the number of grams you have, times the gold value, and that will give you the amount, 2.5% of that. So you have to give 2.5% of the gold you have in your jewelry. How do you determine that? If it's 22 karat, it's 22 out of 24 times how many grams you have. That's how much gold you have. If it's 20 karat or 18 karat, so 18 out of 24, 18 by 24, 18 over 24 times how many grams you have, times the gold price, 2.5% of that would be your zakat. So white gold has some gold content in it. Gold plated, there's no zakat on gold plated. And of course, cash in hand, bank, coins, notes, all zakatable. Zakat on business stock. This refers to all commodities purchased with the intention of resale. That's why, subhanAllah, there's a lot of barakah in business and there's a lot of zakat in business too. If a person is a physician, it's his particular talent, mashallah, Allah gave him that skill, right? So he's earning with that skill. He doesn't have to give zakat on his lab equipment, on the surgical table, on the surgical equipment. Imagine if you give zakat on the value of all the equipment. No. If you have another business where you're not selling anything, you have a laundromat, you don't have to give zakat on the laundry machines. You just bought it and put it there. But if you have a store where you're selling, you have a grocery store, you have a hardware store, you own a Walmart, minus all the haram content, right? So then you have to give zakat on the entire stock. You take the market value of your entire inventory and give 2.5%. Subhanallah. That's a lot. That's why throughout history, the businessmen, they are those who have been supporting the deen and efforts of the deen because their zakat is so much as well. Again, but remember, if it seems like impossible, like if you want a car lot, then you take the value of all the cars in your whole lot that you're selling and you have to give zakat on that. If you want a gold store, then imagine all the jewelry and all the sets that are displayed, then all of that you have to. But there's one thing that makes it a little bit easier, minus liabilities, meaning if you didn't pay it all off, you still owe money, you can minus the money you owe. Right? If you owe money on it, then you can minus the money you owe. So you take the value of all the gold, beautiful sets and bridal sets you have in your store, put it one side, minus how much money you owe the people that you bought it from. If it's all paid off, mashallah, you're doing well, then you're doing really well. Your zakat will be great too. 2.5%. Right? It is what it is. Zakat is compulsory in one's business stock. And we're going to talk about this in more detail. It's coming up, the stocks. Zakat will be calculated according to the retail price of the goods. Which value? The retail value. There's a purchase value and there's a sale value. So the zakat will be calculated on the sale value, retail value. Zakat is not compulsory on real estate purchase with intention to lease out. I mentioned this. You own property to live on, no zakat. You have multiple homes, summer home, winter home, spring home, fall home, European home, African home, and American home, mashallah, then no zakat on any of that. Prepare for the final home too, inshallah. So there's no zakat on any number of homes. And if you're leasing it out, there's zakat on the rent. Why? Because the rent will go into your bank account. So now, you don't have to do a separate thing. Just take that rent that you receive from all your properties, put it into your normal account or add it up, and you give 2.5%. Zakat is not compulsory on real estate purchase with intention to lease out. One will add the value of gold, silver, cash, total value of all goods, and give 2.5% as zakat. You add it all up and give 2.5% of that. Business. If there's a partnership, then every partner is responsible to dispense zakat of his percentage share. If there's a business, there's a 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, any percentage, you're responsible for your share, and he's responsible for his share. Because you will go in your grave, he will go in his grave. Subhanallah. And وَلَّيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. You have nothing to your credit except for what your good deeds are. وَأَلَّا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةً وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. You have no sin except for your own sin. You won't bear your partner's sins, nor will you get the thawab of your partner. Evaluating business stock. Evaluate the finished goods at sale price. As I said, not at purchase price, but at sale price. Unfinished goods will be evaluated with the market price. Okay, some common transactions here. Ijara in diminishing musharaka schemes. These are like guidance financial, it's a diminishing musharaka. If you are involved in this, you would know. If you have bought a house on ijara or diminishing musharaka. These are not considered as debt. So your monthly payment is not considered a debt. Therefore, no future payments at all can be deducted from zakatable assets. This is important. So if you cannot deduct if you have an ijara contract or if you have a diminishing musharaka contract, then the future payments cannot be deducted from your zakatable assets. Deposits. Money deposited for safekeeping or given to another party for guardianship is zakatable. If you gave your money to somebody else to safekeep it, of course, it's zakatable, it's a deposit. In fact, if they owe you the money as is coming, it is also zakatable. If you give somebody a loan for $1,000 and he owes you the $1,000 back, now it's up to you, you're not squeezing his arm and telling him, give me the $1,000. You are being kind and not taking it back from right away, but it is zakatable. The reason is, if you say, I'm not going to give zakat because I don't have it, and then he says that when he calculates the assets, he has $5,000. He says, $1,000 I owe to brother so-and-so, so I deduct that. So I will give zakat on $4,000. So he won't give zakat because he's going to deduct it as a loan. You don't give zakat because you say, I don't have it. So no one's giving zakat for $1,000. You see that? So you say, I don't have it, I don't give zakat on $1,000. He says, I don't give zakat for $1,000 because I owe this money. So no one is giving it. So who is supposed to give it? The one the money is owed to. We're going to talk about, there's dayn qawi and dayn da'if. There are different types of debts. We'll talk about it, there's slides coming up. Down payments. A purchaser is not the owner of the funds forwarded in a down payment. Thus, money given as a deposit in down payment is not subject to zakat. So yeah, if you have given a down payment, you already paid it. So of course, you don't have to give zakat for it. Like you're buying something, buying a house, and you already made the down payment, and you have the rest of the payment to be given later. So you don't have to give zakat on that payment that you already gave away as a down payment. That's a no-brainer. It's not in your account anymore. Zakat is not payable on insurance premiums. Any of these debts that we have, payments that we give, then it can be deducted. If there are governmental benefits, someone is taking a benefit, zakat is payable on the beneficiary of working tax credit, child tax credit, any of these credits from the IRS, any social security allowances. If one possesses any of these benefits, when calculating zakat, they will be added to one's assets, inshallah. Debt receivables. These are debts that are owed to you now, receivables. So this is called a daynun qawiyun, a strong debt. This arises from forwarding loans or outstanding invoices. A loan is qard, which you have given as a loan to someone. And an outstanding invoice is a dayn, which means that you sold the person something and he owes you the money for it. That's an outstanding invoice. So the creditor must pay zakat on the amount he has lent. You have to pay the zakat on the money you have lent out. Why? I just explained it a little bit early, that the one you gave the money to, he's going to consider it a deductible. He's going to deduct that. He's not going to pay zakat on it. You have to pay zakat on it. It is best to add the strong debt receivables to one's total assets and discharge zakat yearly. It's best to do this. When we say it's best, it means it's not necessary. If something is necessary, it's not best to do it. Best means it's best practice. Means it's also permissible to delay and say that I will not give the zakat now because I don't know if I'm going to receive it. But once you receive it, then you'll have to give the zakat for all the past years. If you receive the money after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 saal ke baad yaad aaya. Right, 40 years later he remembers. So then you will give the zakat for all the past years at that point. So it's the whole amount. So no, it won't. Will it be the whole amount? It will not be the whole amount because you give 1/40th of the whole amount plus 1/40th of the whole amount plus 1/40th of the whole amount will be the whole amount after 40 years. But it's not one. It's 1/40th of the whole amount, and the next year is 1/40th of the remainder after 1/40 is taken out. Then then it's one. You'll have left. You'll have some left. Right. But the thing is, it's best to give it every year. But you can give it. You can give it after you receive it. But if you give it after you receive the debt, you have to give it for the past years. That's the only catch. A weak debt. A weak debt is considered, that refers to receivables arising without an exchange of tangible goods. Meaning you did not give them money, nor did you give them any goods. They still owe you money for other reasons. For example, unpaid wages. The employer said that we're running tight right now. We will give you your salary later. May Allah make it easy. This happens sometimes in Islamic schools. If you're working for a Fortune 500 company or government, this won't maybe not happen. But you're working for, small businesses or Muslim schools, sometimes it happens. That teachers, right? I remember, and anyway, I won't take any names. But there are some teachers that were not receive their salary for months. So if it's owed to you, now you don't have to, this is considered a weak debt. Unpaid rental for landlord. There's a landlord, his tenant did not pay him the rent. You might eventually have to evict him and never get the money. Outstanding mahar, you don't know when this husband is going to wake up and give you the mahar. Now you become a grandfather, grandmother, he still hasn't given you the mahar yet. Outstanding bequest payment. Bequest payment, this is from a wasiyah. When someone passes away, and then they say that give so-and-so amount of money to so-and-so person. You don't know when the executor of the estate will actually give you the money that was allotted to you from the estate of the deceased individual. That's the bequest, wasiyah. So zakat will not be compulsory in a weak debt receivable until and unless one gets the receipt of the asset. Once you get the unpaid wages, once you get the unpaid rental, the mahar, finally he gives it to you. Now if the man, he says, I went and studied fiqh of nikah, Toba, I did not give you the mahar, and now, he tells the dadi nani that I was supposed to give this to you when you were a dulhan and a bride, I'm giving it to you now, to the grandmother. He gives the mahar. She does not have to pay the zakat for the past 40 years of married life. Zakat is not compulsory on such a debt for the previous years it was outstanding. So when you get it, you only give it at that time. You don't have to give it for the previous years. These are the dayn da'if, the weak debts. So this is a very important distinction between the strong debts and the weak debts. I'm not sure if we covered this last year. So this is something new. And if it's an absolutely bad debt, worse than weak, it's bad, is two situations. The debtor acknowledges the existence of debt. He says, yeah, I do owe you. If the debtor, whether solvent or insolvent, acknowledges the existence of the debt, then the debt is not excluded from the creditor's zakat liability. However, if a creditor is unable to release the debt from his debtor despite his acknowledgement, it is not liable to zakat. Meaning, even though he's acknowledging it, if you're not able to get the money, you tell him and he says, if he acknowledges the existence of the debt, then the debt is not excluded from the liability. Meaning, you have to still give it because he is acknowledging it, you have to give the zakat. However, if you're trying and you're not able to get it out, he's not paying you, then you're not liable to give zakat on that because it's pretty much you're never going to get it. You might have been in such a position, so you know how it feels. On the other hand, if he is straight up denying it, you never gave me money, I never saw you, I don't even know who you are. Then in that case, It's not subject to zakah. See, when you needed the money, you knew who I was. Now, when you have to pay back, you don't know who I am anymore. This happens. Rasulullah ﷺ would not perform the janazah of the one who owed money. He would say, Hal alayhi dayn. If does he owe money, then he says, okay, one of you lead the janazah. If somebody would stand up and say that, okay, I take the responsibility to pay off his debts, he said, okay, now I'll lead the janazah. Even a shaheed, illa dayn, even the shaheed who gave his life for Islam, for him, he will be suspended until he pays off his debts. We should take this seriously. If you owe someone money, we should make it a top priority to pay off our debts, so we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in such a condition. We owe none of His creation. We do not owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it was a bad debt, he completely denied it, then there's no zakat on it. Then when he pays you, then you give zakat. Only that year. It's not considered a strong debt. Yeah. If he denied it, he said, I don't know you, I don't recognize you, who are you, get lost, stop bothering me, harassing me, I'm going to report you. And then eventually, Ramadan comes, he has a qadr, he heard this talk, oh, Rasulullah would not perform my janazah, I better give it. So he comes, he said, Tawbah, I'll give it to you. Then you have to give zakat that year only, since it is a bad debt. Yeah. Yeah. So for the bad debt, this one, if it's truly bad in the sense that there is no chance he's going to pay, either whether he's denying it or he's acknowledging it, but he's saying I won't give it. In that case, when he ends up giving it that year, you will give it only on the year you get it. You will not have to give for the past years. That's why this is a separate category.
But if someone never has it, is not able to pay it back. Person received the loan.
Yeah. If a person received the loan, acknowledges, says, I'm going to try to pay you, and he's not able to pay you, then that's still a strong debt. If he wants to, this one is that he's just not paying it. He acknowledges it, but he's not, despite having the ability, he's not paying you. This is what the bad debt is. I was going to mention something in the questions, so got me off track. Yeah, so what I was saying, we should make it a top priority to pay off our debts. Minimize our other expenses, our luxuries, our vacations, or whatever else we're doing. Try to pay off the debts first. Right. It reminded me, subhanAllah, we should be in such a condition, we are ready to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anytime death would come. Right? So that is why we have to have our accounts clear. Accounts clear with Allah, accounts clear with the creation of Allah. We should be ready to return to Allah at any moment. Really, honestly, sincerely, if I die today, my book should be in order. That should be the ideal goal. I should not be sitting owing people money. So one time, in the middle of a dars, our teacher, Sheikh Suleiman, Damat Barakatuhum al-Aliyah, he mentioned that I'm telling you this to encourage you guys. He said, Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. The blessings of your Lord, mention the blessings of your Lord. تَحْدِيثًا بِالنِّعْمَةِ, I am saying that since I became baligh, I have never missed a single salah. I have never missed a single fast. I have never missed calculating my zakah. As far as the fara'id are concerned, I have never missed a single faridah, to my knowledge. And as far as the creation are concerned, I have never borrowed a single cent from anyone that I did not pay back. So I have paid my debts to Allah, I have paid my debts to the creation of Allah. I'm waiting for the call of my Lord. When He calls me, I'm going to say, Labbaik, I'm ready to return. This is a position you should be into. Yeah, that's a big problem. We are living in this time when people are having mortgages. So that originally the debts used to be taken when you were in extreme need only. And debt would be taken, would be the last resort. You would not take a debt until you have extreme shadid haja. Now people, they want to live beyond their means. So a person, sometimes some people are able to purchase a small house or something on cash, but they want to live beyond that and buy an interest. So they are now in loans. So that is why also when it comes to even calculating the zakat, this plays a role, is that initially the scholars used to say that you take all of your savings and whatever debts you have, you minus your debts and you give zakat on the balance. But today, there are so many debts that if you say that the entire amount of debt that a person has on his house, one is the whole issue of it being haram, if it's a conventional mortgage, the interest, and the riba being harb min Allahi wa Rasuli and all of that, that's there. On top of that, from the leaving that hurmat aside, to calculate zakat, do you deduct the entire amount of loan? So if a person has $100,000 savings sitting in his bank, but he is owing $300,000, he will never give zakat. Huh? He's eligible to receive zakat because he has $200,000 in debt. He has $100,000 cash sitting there, just lying there, but he owes $300,000, so he can receive zakat. So this is the current economy now. So everyone जो है कर्जों में जकड़ा हुआ है, right? Everyone is drowning in debt. So what do we do is, the scholar said no. Nowadays the debt is not being taken only out of shadid haja shadida, but rather for further luxury. So you cannot deduct, when you calculate your $100,000 zakat, you cannot deduct your $300,000 that you owe. Is it owable on you tonight? You have to give it before the sun set? No. Are you worried about it tossing and turning at night? No. It's a 30-year plan, 25 years remaining. It's long-term debt. So there are two fatwas. One fatwa is that you can deduct only the monthly payment that's due on the month you discharge your zakah. That I believe to be the safest. This particular mufti who prepared this, he went with you can deduct your payments for the whole year. There's a big difference. So he says any payments remain for the whole year, that you can deduct that as a debt from your assets. So if he has a $5,000 or if he has a $2,000 monthly payment, you can deduct $2,000 from his $100,000 and pay zakat on $98,000. I would say the safest thing to do is just deduct your monthly payment. Again, that's if it's a debt to the bank. If it's a diminishing musharaka, you don't deduct anything. Debt liabilities, short term. The total amount of the short term liabilities will always be deducted when calculating one's zakatable assets. Like your monthly credit card bill, you have to pay it off. If you don't pay it off, then interest will be charged. So you can deduct your credit card bill, your phone bill, your gas bill, your utilities bill, all the bills that you have to pay this month. You can deduct all of those. If you are renting a house, then the rent, you can deduct that. Long-term, number of years, the amount one needs to pay in the course of 1 year will be subtracted from one's gross assets. This he's going with, you can take the 1 year's payments. I would say the safer is to deduct only your monthly. Yeah, so the taxes on the house, if it's due that month, you can deduct it. If it's already paid, then it's already deducted. It's not there. Because you're not giving zakat on income. Remember, you're giving zakat on savings. So your previous payment for your house taxes, property taxes, is already subtracted from your savings. It's not there. You're not paying zakat on it. You already उसको अदा करने के बाद जो बची है उसी पे तो ज़कात दे रहे, right? After you paid that tax bill, what's left, you're paying zakat on that. So you already is deducted that way. Otherwise you are getting two property tax bills per year, right? Because you understand? Because the previous one is already minused out, and then you want to take this one as well. Debts are deductible from your zakatable total if they are to be repaid in full within the next 12 months. Debts which do not have to be paid in the next 12 months are not deductible. This is the long-term debts I was talking about, the 30-year, 25-year plans. If debts are payable by installments, then 12 months debt is deductible. So if it's going to be paid this year in installments, you can deduct up to 12 months, not beyond that. Deductible liabilities outstanding, not future bills, but outstanding, the ones that you still have to give. Basic living expenses which have not yet been paid, utility bills. I mentioned this, goods purchased on credit, meaning you bought something on credit, udhar pe kharida. Now you have to pay it. You have taken receipt of goods but not paid for them fully, and fully intend to pay the debt. So if you are in business, this applies. Like you're buying things on credit, you have a line of credit, you have to pay those bills. Or simple thing, example of this is credit cards. People buy things on credit card and you have to pay the credit card bill. That's right there, goods purchased on credit. Outstanding salaries and payable service fees. This is if you're the owner of the business and you have to pay the salaries this month. Just for that month, yeah. Right. Unpaid dowry to one's wife, assuming one intends to pay during this year, then it should be deducted. Personal loans, if you have to repay it within the year, you can deduct it. Commercial loans, only 1 year's payments can be deducted, not the entire amount. I would say safer is, as I've been saying for everything, 1 month. Go with the 1 month, it's safer. Now shares, you made it a little bit more detailed, complicated here than normally is explained, but I'll take it as it is and try to make it simple for you. See, there's two types of shares. One are shares purchased to resell. Purchase to resell means these are when you normally buy stocks, you buy them in intention, you buy them when you're low, hopefully, and you sell it when high, hopefully, and you make a profit. That's the whole idea. So that would fall under number one, purchase to resell. Stocks which you buy to sell. The entire holding is subject to zakat plus any dividends received. So when you buy stocks in Apple, AT&T, this, that, telecommunications, different, Google, whatever, you buy the stocks and you sell, buy and sell. You buy it when they're lower, you sell when they're higher. So once a year on the market value, you'll have to give the zakat on it. Now another share is a person has a grocery store, a person has a small business, private business, and you have a share in that. As a silent partner, you're investing. This is a different type of share. This is purchased to hold as an investment and generate dividends. You're owning the business only with the interest of getting dividends. You're not going to be buying and selling those shares. So in this case, zakat will be levied on the dividends, meaning the profit you get, and percentage of zakatable assets of business. So number two has to be explained. The entire business is no zakat, it's on the zakatable assets. What are the zakatable assets? The stock and trade. You don't have to give zakat on the value of the store building. You don't have to give zakat on the parking lot, on the property value. You only have to give zakat on the stock in trade. That's what he's talking about when you have a share in a business which you purchase to hold as an investment. These are like small businesses. And the number one is talking about the big companies that are publicly traded companies. So business assets, fixed assets, machinery, buildings, furniture, they are not zakatable. Lab equipment is not zakatable. There's nothing, they're service-based business, there's nothing zakatable there. Yeah, there's nothing zakat. The income, of course, why not? The income is zakatable. Yeah, service-based, physician. Total income is zakatable, yeah. After minusing liabilities, of course. Yes. We normally take the Q&A at the end. But if it's very urgent, yeah, we can always go back. Yeah, so that way if we get done, and then what happens that those who are very intelligent ones who understood everything, they can leave, and those of us who need more questions, we can continue, because this seminar every year is ultimate longest seminar, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. So I don't want to hold everyone that long. So I want to finish it, so those who need to go can go. And those who continue to ask questions can continue to stay, and I'll try to stay here, inshallah, as long as physically able to. So we have, one will pay zakat on the percentage of current assets in ratio to his share of value. Yeah, of course. I mean, if you own 40% of the company, you have to give 40%. That's not, obviously. For example, Zayd purchased, this mufti is from UK, so he put a pound sign, 1,000 pounds worth of shares in company XYZ. Okay? 1,000 pounds worth of shares in the company. 40% of the company's assets cover machinery, furniture, cars for use, etc. 60% of the company's assets are in the form of stock in trade, cash, receivables, gold. So how much does he have to give zakat on? On the 40, on the 60, on the 100? On the 60. 2.5% of the 60 he'll have to give zakat on. So if you have big companies, you have stock, you have own, if you're buying to sell it, then you have to give zakat on the entire value. Don't forget that. If it's number one, purchase to resell, you have to give zakat on the entire holding. This is only if you're holding it as an investment to generate dividends, then you can divide this. How much percentage of the value of the company is the assets like furniture and machinery? That's not zakatable. And how much is stock in trade, cash, receivables, gold? That much is zakatable. Okay. These are different pension schemes that do not apply to us. Or sure, I'm gonna go through this. Animals. Okay. Paying zakat, one should, if you have questions on animals, I'll talk to you. Paying on zakat, because it's very complicated. Different formula for camels, different for sheep, different for cattle. Everyone is a different hisab. It's one of the more complicated things. So these people say, we're not farmers. I don't want to waste, it's not a waste of time, but it's not as relevant for them. One should not delay in paying zakat. Okay, intention, the niyyah. The intention must be made at the time of giving zakat to a qualifying recipient. When you give, you cannot just write check to a needy person and afterwards you say, oh, I'll just make the, backtrack and make it a niyyah of zakat afterwards. Like some needy relative said, please, I need help, I have medical bills, I'm in Pakistan or India or wherever, or I have and they are actually very poor. So you got emotional and you help them out, which is great. Afterwards, when you're calculating your zakat, you're like, oh, let me deduct that. Too bad, you cannot deduct that. Why not? The niyyah, innamal a'malu bin niyyah. So when you give the zakat, you have to have the niyyah. And you don't have to inform them. This is like one of the top FAQs. Do you have to tell them, my dear cousin, this is zakat money? You don't have to tell them. You just say that I'm helping you out. You don't have to tell them when you give them the zakat money that this is zakat money. You can just help them out like you're helping a friend, like a relative, cousin, uncle, aunt, whatever it is. Provided they are truly mustahiq. Provided they are truly... The easiest way is even if they have gold and silver, if their debts exceed their savings, they are mustahiq. They are deserving. If their debts exceed their savings, they become mustahiq. Which relatives can you not give to? We didn't cover that, right, in here? It's in the other PowerPoint. Maybe we can pick up some slides from there too. I have the other PowerPoint on this computer. The one we use normally, Mufti Abrar's, it mentions there who you cannot give zakat to. From your relatives, you cannot give to number one, usul. Usul means father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, all relatives straight up. Number two, furu'a, means down. Son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, paternal, maternal, going straight down. Number three, zoj or zoja, your spouse. Besides these three categories, you can give zakat to every other relative. Meaning, your own brothers and sisters, your father and mother's brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, your nephews and nieces, your cousins, first, second, third, any number of cousins, all can be given zakat. In fact, you'll get double thawab. You'll get the reward of giving the zakat, and you'll also get the reward of helping relatives. Sila rahmi. Silatul raham. So you have to make the intention when giving the zakat to the recipient or to one's agent at the time of separating zakat fund. Okay, or to one's agent. Number two, it says here, qualifying recipient is when you give it to the faqir, to the needy, you have to have the niyat there. Number two, to one's agent. Agent is, who's your agent? Agent is when you are giving it to, for example, we give to needy students, Darus Salam. We make sure that they are qualifying needy students. We do not use zakat money for construction. That's why it's called zakat scholarship for needy students. We do not use it for construction. And this entire masjid, when it was built, oh my God, we did not have needy students. We did not have needy students. We never took zakat money. This was a big project you're sitting in right now. Are you benefiting from this structure? Believe me, so many people said, oh my God, please take my zakat money. We said, we cannot take your zakat money. One big businessman, he said, blank check. You write the amount, but zakat. We said, sorry, we cannot take your blank check, any amount. Because we did not have needy students. We did not use the zakat funds for the construction. But now we have needy students who want to study, but we have to pay the rent for their apartments, we have to pay tuition for them, we have to pay for their books and for their meal plans. So that's why we have zakat scholarships for needy students. Over here, 100% of your zakat money would go to the needy recipient, and who is also a student of knowledge will become an alim, and there is no overhead, 10% or 5% or any percentage of overhead going. It's going straight 100%. So when you put it in the zakat fund here, at that time you have to make the niyyah. That's number two, to one's agent. Or at the time of separating zakat funds from one's total assets. This is called azlu mali zakah. Azlu zakah means that you separate it. Means you take it out and put it one side, physically also like in a jar or in a box, or virtually in an account. You separate it. So at that time you make the zakat niyyah, that's fine. Then when you disburse from that individually at every time you give it out, you don't have to make the niyyah. Paying on behalf of spouse or children. It is permissible to discharge somebody else's zakat from one's own wealth on condition one has approval and acknowledgement. I already talked about this when I said about minors. If you're giving zakat of minors, what do you have to do? You have to get, minors there is no zakat. But after they become baligh, but they're still considered kids in society, then you have to get their approval. Tamliq, transfer of ownership. Zakat will only be considered to be paid when tamliq is found. Tamliq is when you make the deserving person owner of that wealth. Tamliq means transfer of ownership from the zakat payer to a needy person. Tamliq takes place in the following scenarios. The transferor must be the zakat payer or his or her agent. The one transferring them funds has to be the one paying the zakat himself or his agent, like Darus Salam can be your agent, or any of the aid organizations. The transferee or the recipient must be a natural living person. You cannot give zakat to a dead person. Why would you give zakat to a dead person? For kafan, for burial fund, for burial cost. If there are a person, he dies, and you need to buy his kafan and buy his grave, you cannot do that with zakat funds. Alright? Why can you not do zakat funds? Because you're not transferring into the ownership of a living person. You can give sadaqah. Yeah, if somebody is dying in debt, you can pay debts with zakat money. That comes into the ayah. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين. Gharim is the one who is in debt. But so that's why that you have to give a sadaqah. That's why it says living person. In case you're wondering why he added that unnecessary living word. Not a legal entity. The transfer must not be remuneration or consideration for services. Yeah. If somebody did a service like a labor and you're supposed to pay him $10 an hour, but you say, I'll pay him $100 an hour, $90 zakat. You cannot do that. Yeah. Right. Yes. The transfer recipient must acquire possession and become owner of the funds unconditionally. So the one who is a recipient, he should become owner of that funds and unconditionally. So what happens is that many places, the people come and they say, they bring their eviction notice. They say that, I'm going to be kicked out of my home, I don't have money. So if you write the zakat check straight to the landlord, zakat is not ada, because they never went into the possession of the recipient. If somebody comes with Nicor gas bill, ComEd bill, and you're writing the zakat check to ComEd, you're writing the zakat check to Nicor, you're writing the zakat check to the landlord, there's no tamliq. Lam yasil ila yadil faqiri. You have to give the zakat money to the recipient, and then he discharges it. Okay, I don't want to make it too complicated, but if you are afraid, if you are afraid that he might misuse it, you don't want to give it to him, but you want to pay off his debts, that is maybe in some cases legitimate fear. In that case, it has to reach the possession of the faqir or the agent of the faqir. So if there is someone that he appoints as an agent and says that I appoint this person to receive the money on my behalf, then what happens? So you have appointed a person from your social services department who will now be accepting zakat money on behalf of the faqir, and he will be paying off the bills. That is permissible too. So no, because Comedy and High Court did not accept the wakala, did not accept and take the responsibility that I'm accepting zakat money on behalf of the indigent person who owes me money. He's the person the money is owed to. So this is called in fiqh, there's something called qabzul wakili, qabzul muakkil. See what happens, for example, okay, say you're buying a car. If you're buying a car and you're closing the deal, the keys, the owner did not hand over the keys to you. And before he hands over the keys, there's a hailstorm and the car gets damaged. Whose car was lost? Whose car got damaged? The sellers or the buyers? Seller, because he didn't hand over possession yet. After he hands you possession of the car, and then you're driving off the lot, and then you crash and have an accident, whose car was lost? The purchaser or the seller? Purchaser. Okay, so now we add an agent here. If the purchaser, he sends an agent on his behalf to go buy the car, and he buys the car and he crashes it. So whose car was lost? The seller or the purchaser? Purchaser. Because when the purchaser agent takes possession of the car, it is as if the purchaser took possession. So the purchaser, the agent's taking possession is like his possession, taking possession of the asal, of the original person. So in this case, if the needy person comes and says that, okay, I make you my agent to accept the zakat money on my behalf, Dar Salab or whoever comes to the aid agency and says, okay, I make you my recipient, my wakil, you accept the zakat money, this much on my behalf, and now you can pay off my bills. If he does that process, then it will become permissible. It's just a matter of the process. That's the difference between nikah and prostitution, it's the process. Between zabiyah and haram is the process, right? So the process is important. Sometimes you say, what's the big deal? Yeah, it makes a big deal. One is haram, one is zina. One is zina, one is sunnatul anbiya. It's just a matter of the process that makes the difference. So, yeah. No, there are two things. I was saying you don't have to tell the recipient it's zakat if it's your relative. You don't want to make them feel bad. You know they're mustahiq. So you just give them the money as a gift. And say, I'm just trying to help you out, my friend, my cousin, my uncle. This is a gift for you. But in your intention is zakat. Now you want to pay off their bills without telling them. Yeah. Yeah. No, you just give them the money, you give your relative the money and tell them that this is for you to pay, to help, I just want to help you out with your expenses. They can pay their bills. That's the best way to do it. If it's zakat, if it's not zakat, it's sadaqah, you can directly pay their bills on there without even giving it to them. But if it's zakat, just give it to them, let them pay their own bills. That's the safest way. Yeah, these are agents who are collecting zakat and have operating expenses. So you have to find out how much operating expenses they have. You know, they have 15%, you have this billboard here, Zakat Chicago billboard. When I look at the billboard, I'm thinking, right now, what is the billboard? Something else, right? This billboard is they have, they're taking zakat money for marketing and salaries and rent and all other printing and all other things which are not, tamliq is not there. So therefore, what you need to do is you should find out how much percentage is overhead, 15%, 10%. If you're giving all your zakat to such an organization, then you give 110%, 115%. You have to pay zakat. So 100% of what you're paying goes to the recipients, and then the rest is a donation to the organization. Eyes coming, yeah. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, yes, إِنَّمَا صَدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا. So he's saying Islamic relief quotes this ayah and says that whatever expenses that they are undertaking for operation expenses is also zakat eligible. So the scholars of tafsir say that this it was specific for when you have a Darul Khilafah and a Darul Islam and Amir Mu'mineen and Islamic government, and then you have a Khalifa who appoints one in charge of this department, and he has amilin who are collecting zakat on behalf of the poor people. So they were collecting zakat on behalf of poor people. The poor people that are in the Islamic State, their responsibility to take care of them was on the Islamic State. And then the Islamic State appointed these amilin. So they were agents of the recipients. They were agents of the recipients. Now Islamic Relief and all these organizations are agents of the payers. They're not agents of the recipients. They're agents of the payer. It's like when you give me your zakat money, you're telling me to give it to needy students at Darul Salam. So I'm agent of the payer. I'm not the agent of the recipient. So that's why the safest thing is we do not believe, okay, I can say maximum, I'll say difference of opinion. Fine, they might have that opinion. So they have their respective opinion, we respect that. But I'm just trying to explain my opinion, or our opinion in this matter of our fuqaha is that these aid agencies are wakil of those, are representatives of those who are paying the zakat, not representatives of those who are receiving the zakat. Yes. Yeah, if they are giving baskets, medicine, it can be given, it doesn't have to be given in cash. It could be given blankets, medicines, things. If they're giving directly to the poor, that's great. But if they're building centers with it, constructing different buildings, building, different projects, wells, that again there's no tamliq taking place. Yeah, if you buy uniforms, books, things, that's fine. If you are giving it to them. But if you're just building a school, an orphanage, a hospital, or building a well, that again there's no tamliq taking place. Innama sadaqatu lil fuqara. This is where the tamliq comes from. The lam lit tamliq. Like hada li zaydin. This lam means it belongs to. So it has to be given into the ownership of the faqir. You build a hospital, that's great, but it's not in the ownership of the faqir. So if you give him the medicine, then you gave him the ownership of that. This slide is important, tamliq. May Allah guide us. This is the ayah right here. This is the ayah. Next slide. Innama sadaqat. The ayat zikr kar rahe the na, Islamic relief. This is the ayah. Innama sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakin wal 'amilin 'alayha wal mu'allafati qulubuhum wa fil riqabi wal gharimina fi sabilillahi wa sabil fariidatan min Allah wallahu 'alimun hakim. These are the categories mentioned in this ayah. Verily sadaqah is only zakat is supposed to be given to number 1, fuqara masakin, poor and needy. Who are the poor and needy? This is easiest to define. Those who do not own any zakatable assets and nor surplus assets beyond their personal assets that equate to the Nisab. These are the poor and needy. Then you have debtors. Those individuals who have money, they have $1,000 in the bank, but they owe $2,000. The liabilities exceed their zakatable and surplus assets. So there are people, bichare, miskin, may Allah help them, who are in debt. They have debts. So you can give them zakat money. You might find these people in America too. That people who owe more money, and there are such debts which are not long-term mortgages, but rather they have to pay it off as soon as possible. So we can help them out. We should help out those people who are in debt to get out of debt. If they have money over the nisab, but their debt exceeds their savings, then they can receive zakat money. Travelers, this won't apply anymore. Why? Because the ayah says, it's in the ayah, where is it? It says, وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ, the traveler. Because the traveler, this why was a separate category, is the traveler has a lot of money. If the traveler is poor, then it's already included under poor. No need to repeat. This person is not a poor traveler, he's a rich traveler. He has a lot of funds, but they're in his home country. He's away from his home country, he's in a far distant land. So if you ask him, are you faqir? No. You have money? Yes. I have gold and silver and I have everything. But where? It's in my home country. Here, my wallet got stolen, I don't have any money now. So this is why the traveler, you could give him zakat money, because he does not have access to his funds. But does this apply anymore? Nowadays, there's so many ways of transferring money. If it's a refugee, yeah, then he doesn't even own his property anymore. If he's a refugee, then he's a faqir. Because you know how this is proven from the Quran? Because there were muhajirin who had a lot of assets in Makkah, and when they made hijrah as a refugee to Medina, Allah Ta'ala says, لِلْفُقَرَاءِ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ. Those fuqara muhajirin who have been expelled from their homes, min diyarihim wa expelled from their wealth, yabtaghuna fadlan min Allahi ridwanan. They're only seeking pleasure of Allah. So the scholars of tafsir say, this is a muhajir who owns property, and Allah is calling him faqir. That means that when a non-Muslim government overtakes the Muslim land, then that property, ownership of the property ceases, and the Muslim who is expelled from his land will not remain an owner of that wealth. So nowadays what do? You tell him that this is the address of the bank, and this is how you can transfer the money, right? There's Western Union, there's money, Gram, what is that called? MoneyGram, all these different ways of transferring money. Okay. Fi sabilillah, those in path of Allah, this has been restricted to mujahideen historically amongst all the mazahib. This is a controversial point. I'm identifying for you the controversy right here. People nowadays are expanding this to every single thing. All the other efforts of deen always existed, but always fi sabilillah was considered specifically for mujahideen fi sabilillah, for actual mujahideen, to buy armor for them, and horses, and spears, and arrows, and shields. This is what fi sabilillah was considered. But now people have expanded fi sabilillah to include all different types of things. So that is something to watch out for. You want to be safe, right, with your zakat? So go with that which is consensus, no difference of opinion. Where's no difference of opinion? Number one, poor and needy, debtors, no difference of opinion there. Mu'allafat al-qulub, right from the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, Allah has made us not in need of this anymore. And that is why the scholars believe this is also mansukh and abrogated. This was given to by Rasulullah when Islam was in its weak, early stages, that non-Muslims and some new Muslims, to draw their hearts near to Islam, Rasulullah gave them zakat money to win over their hearts. But we do not need that. And last one is zakat collectors. These are collectors, IR and others who are using this, are commissioned by the government to collect zakat funds on behalf of the poor. Did you notice? There's a commission by the Darul Islam government, Qadi, and there are many things which are stipulated with the Darul Islam, with having a true Islamic qada system. For example, when you come to all of the hudud, penalties, if somebody commits zina, may Allah forbid, the Quran says, "Azaniyatu wazani fajlidu kulla wahidin minhuma mi'ata jalla." The one who commits a fornication before marriage, they must be flogged 100 lashes. It's in the Quran. Can me, I'll say, I'm Mufti of Darul Salam, I'm going to catch this young man and give him 100 lashes? No, I cannot do that. It's in the Quran, I still can't do it. Why? Because this is pending on having a Darul Qada, having a Khalifa, having a Amir al-Mu'mineen, having a court system. Then all of those things, rules apply. Likewise, this one. If there's a government that is responsible for the poor, and then says on behalf of the poor they're collecting, then they can be given their salaries from the zakat money. For da'wah, yeah, people are expanding the da'wah. If you want to know where they're getting it from, they're getting it from this fi sabilillah. But the safer thing is not to give sadaqah for that. Oh, this is a question. If there is a parents who have money, right? Parents have money. The student, he doesn't have money. So can you give the student? See, the thing to note is, if he is a minor, not baligh, he will be considered dependent of the parents. If the parents are rich, you cannot give the children of rich parents zakat money. But if he becomes baligh, if he's a teenager, then he's considered independent. This happens a lot. How it happens is that when you have relatives, they are needy, but they have some gold and silver. They have nisab. And you want to help them out, and you want to give zakat money to them. You don't want to even give sadaqah. What you can do is give the zakat money to their 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old child, boy or girl, on their name. Because those children, they are considered independent. Their parents' wealth will not be counted for on their credit. If they are minors, they are dependents of their parents. But if they are now baligh, you can give them zakat money. So you can give zakat money to a 15-year-old son of even a rich father. I mean, if he's a super rich father and all the needs of the son are taken care of, you don't want to do that. But technically, if he doesn't have any money, this 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old doesn't have any money, they are a valid recipient, yes? Right. La. Yeah, la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Yeah, this is a very important question. Jazakullahu Khairun. That this is just like we talked about the house mortgages. This is a current environment we are living in where people have huge loans for houses. The second or one of the other equally big loan amount in this country, in this nation, is educational loans. And there are people who have huge loans for education. So again, there's at a micro level, what can we do? Short term, and then there's a long term solution. Long term solution is we need to invest in our children. And I can do a whole pitch for, there are different organizations that are coming up with interest-free loans, and we had one of them in Ramadan this year too, right? What was it? Continuous charity. Continuous charity, we gave them a slot too. So they are raising funds for giving interest-free loans to our own youth so they can study. We need to invest in that. And we need to have, other communities, the Jews, they support education among the Jewish youth. And we as Muslims are behind in this. We need to help our youth so they do not have to take interest-bearing loans. However, now once the loan has been taken, the question of the brother Sheikh is that now the loan has been taken, and now the guy is working, he started his work, he only has $1,000 in the bank, he owes $40,000 for his expenses. So the same rule as the house mortgage would apply. Is he going to pay the $40,000 right now? No. Is it due at the end of the week? No. It's due over months, over years. So he can take an exemption and minus out his monthly bill. Yes. Yeah, if there's an unemployed 25-year-old man in your family, and he is definitely baligh. If his parents have money, that's fine. Doesn't affect him. His status will be based on what he has. If he has no savings, you can give him zakat money. You can give zakat, yes. If you're giving money to a relative, the father and mother have money, then you cannot give them zakat. But the child is going to give zakat to the child, the niyyah. In that case, you could say you give the zakat money directly to the child, that's great. Or you can give it to the parent and say that this money is for, I'm giving in the name of so-and-so. Beti ka naam, beta ka naam, on the name of so-and-so. And then they can accept it as a proxy on behalf of the child. Right? Okay? Yes? Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a very good question. You have a joint family. You send your zakat to your sibling, to your brother. MashaAllah, your brother in that joint family, he in his house is your mother too. Your mother is living in the house where your brother is staying. You, MashaAllah, living in America, but your brothers and sisters and unmarried sister and brothers and their wives and your mother and father living together in the home together, joint back in their country. So you are giving zakat to, your niyyah is to your brother. Now your brother, he goes and buys groceries. When he buys groceries, then your mother is eating from that grocery. What is the hukum? So you might think, oh, it's not permissible because we said you cannot give zakat to mother, father, you cannot give to son, grandson, granddaughter. But there is one hukum in Sharia. It's called tabaddulul milk will lead to tabaddulul hukum. Meaning, if there is a change in the ownership, then the zakat is discharged. So when you gave the zakat money to your brother, who is eligible, provided he is an eligible recipient, the zakat is discharged. Now it's not zakat money anymore. Now with that money, if he goes and buys anything, and he gives it to the mother, to the father, or to his to your children, to his nephew and niece, it will be permitted. Example is that, like, you give zakat money in cash to a poor needy person who is sick. He takes those same notes with the same serial number on it, the zakat money, and he goes to a very, mashallah, millionaire doctor and he gets a checkup done. He gives him that zakat money. Or he goes to a big baker and he buys bread. Or he goes to, and he buys his necessities. When he gives this money, will you say that, oh, this doctor, how are you accepting zakat money? Would you say that? No. Why? Because once it entered into the ownership of the faqir, it's not zakat money anymore. This is the difference between money and difference between money. This is the ruling. But if it's a item, there's ayn and dayn. If it's an item like that's an asset, a tangible asset, then it would not apply. For example, if Zayd he stole $1,000 from Amr, and then after stealing $1,000 he comes and to the doctor and gets a medical checkup and pays $1,000 bill. So if Amr comes back to the doctor and says that, you know, doctor, in your office, see those notes? I have the proof that those notes belong to me. They were stolen from me. Will the doctor have to return the stolen money? No. He will say that that money that was stolen from you is not attached with these physical notes. It's $1,000 that was stolen from you. You can go back to the thief and retrieve your $1,000 from him. Any other $1,000, they are replaceable. However, if somebody, for example, stole an item like a work of art, some beautiful art piece, then he comes to the doctor and says that I don't have any money. Do my checkup. Can I just give you this art piece? You can hang it in your mansion. It'll look so beautiful. So he says, okay. Then if the original person from whom it was stolen comes to the doctor and proves that this art piece is mine, will the doctor have to return it? Yes. What about his fees? He will have to go back to the thief and try to recoup his fees, but he will have to return it. That's the difference between an object versus the money. Because the item that was stolen, it has to be returned to its original owner. The money is replaceable, changeable. He took the item as a fees, but he took a stolen item. He took a stolen item, so the stolen item is deserved to be returned back to the one whom it was stolen. And you're right, he took as fees. He deserves the fees. How will he get the fees? He will have to go back to that thief and say, give me the monetary value of that work of art that you had given me, that you owe me. More questions? Oh, we have questions coming from the sisters too. Let's finish this, alhamdulillah, and then we'll do questions. As I said, this will go long, so let me finish this slide. The following cannot receive zakat. Okay. Yeah, the question is mentioned, a good reminder. There are people listening live stream, they're getting confused, so I need to repeat the questions. So those who cannot take zakat, general welfare projects, which your brother mentioned. All right, hospitals, madrasas meaning for the expansion, but for needy students you can give. Construction projects. The descendants of Abbas, Harith, Ja'far and Aqil. What is this? Why not? This is from the Banu Hashim. Subhanallah. The Banu Hashim. Abbas radiallahu anhu, Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim. Harith, Ja'far bin Abi Talib bin Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim. Aqil bin Abi Talib bin Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim radiallahu anhum. So these are also from considered the Ashraf, the Ahlul Bayt, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What does that mean? We don't care about the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? We shouldn't support them? We should support them, but we have to support them through sadaqah. You know the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that his own beloved grandson Hassan and Hussein, they were hungry and starving, and there was a pile of dates in the masjid, so they took a date and put it in their mouth and they're eating it. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, opened their mouth, took out the date and spit it out. He said, "Oh, ya ibni, oh my dear son, Allah has made this haram for us." That is till the day of judgment, to remove any objection and tuhma, allegation, that the purpose of Rasulullah's deen was to establish a financial empire for his children. Allah made it haram upon all of his children till the day of judgment to take from the wealth of zakah. You cannot give to a rich person, you cannot give to one's wife or husband, parents, grandparents, those are going up, children, grandchildren going down, non-Muslim, employee as remuneration, and to prisoners. These are, alhamdulillah, there are a few things I wanted to show you from this one that we normally used to do, things that were not covered here before we go to the questions. What is going on? It's not showing anything. Or like maybe it's not. Okay. Stop. Why isn't it showing it? Yeah. But it's full screen, it's not showing it. Okay, can you see it like this? Okay, can you give zakat to a masjid? We talk, no. Can you pay zakat in jewelry if it's in use? Yes. Does one pay zakat on rental property value? No. Is there zakat on 401k? Yes, there is zakat on 401k. We'll talk about this. So 401ks, previously I mentioned that you can deduct the penalties and the tax that are due if you do early withdrawal and give zakat on the entire remainder amount. This is one fatwa that some scholars have given. Other scholars, they say that the entire amount that you are not withdrawing, that you are not paying the penalty on, and the tax that you're not paying is being reinvested and increasing, and the next year is becoming more, and the next year is becoming more. So that way, if you think about it, it is like your money that you have kept in your bank, and the entire money is being reinvested, increasing. So the entire amount is zakatable. So I was doing research on this. I'm mentioning what I mentioned last year because many of you have been here last year. Last year, both fatwas are there. One fatwa is there. I'm going to mention both fatwas. I'm not trying to confuse you, but because you will hear both, you heard both from me myself. One fatwa says that in your 401k, what you do is you go to your human resources manager and say that if I choose to do early withdrawal right now, how much money would I get? So they will say, oh my God, don't do that. I'll say, no, I just want to know. You'll say, okay, you will have 40% will go in taxes, and 20% will be another penalty. 60% gone, you're only going to get 40%. You say, fine, thank you, no, I won't take it out. Then you give 2.5% of that 40% of your 401k. This is one particular fatwa. Reputable muftis have given it, this is what I said as well. But now I did further research. Other scholars are saying that if you keep on doing that, every year you're giving zakat on that 40%. But technically what's happening? That money which you did not pay in taxes because you did not withdraw. That money which you did not pay in penalties because you did not withdraw. What happened to that? That was reinvested and that increased. And the next year it became more. So therefore, if you treat it like cash that you have in your own bank, you should give zakat on the entire amount. It doesn't make sense to deduct. This also makes sense. So that's why because the entire amount is being reinvested every year until the time of maturity, you are not paying any penalties. No. Tamliq is when you are giving money to the recipient, then you have to pass the money into the ownership of the recipient. This is in your ownership. This is your money. It's like in the bank, but you are not using it right now. So that's, this is something subjective. I'm mentioning, that's why when something is very clear, I won't give you two opinions. I'll say this is what it is. There are two opinions. There are people looking at it from one perspective. I'm giving you both perspectives. It's up to you, because both are reputable. Muftis have given fatwa both ways. So there are those who say, look at how much is accessible. That's one particular way of looking at it. Other way of looking at it is, look at how much is being multiplied. After it finally matures and you reach the age, whatever it is, 60, 55, 65, and you finally get it, then you are getting that amount which has multiplied over time. And there was no penalty paid, there was no taxes paid. The entire amount was rolled over next year, was reinvested. The entire amount was rolled over next year, was reinvested. So how does it make sense to deduct penalties that are not being paid? How does it make sense to deduct? If you withdraw early, there's no brainer. Most definitely you deduct the penalty, deduct the tax if you withdraw early. We're talking about not withdrawing and still deducting. Yeah, and then obviously there's always a question about not having enough money to pay the zakat in your own checking account, saving account, because your 401k is so much, but your cash at hand is all whatever coming in, going out, coming in, going out. You don't have it. So in that case, then you just calculate the zakat and defer it. When it matures and you finally get the money, then you give for the past years. It is permissible to delay paying the zakat until you actually get the 401k.
That one is very, very tricky, because from a specialized perspective, say your 401k is still start at 30, 35 years, and your zakat accumulated at hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then the shaitan is.
Yeah, so it's a big test. In short, he's saying it's a big test when it matures for you to actually go back and give it for the past years. But that needs to be done. Personal investment accounts are definitely zakatable. Yes. Huh? Okay, if there is a pension plan that the employer says that you don't have access to it, you cannot touch it, and it's not yours, only when you retire at a particular, then they'll give it to you. Then there's no zakat for the past years. Because as if you are getting that gift at that point. It's like a bonus at the end of your career. In those type of plans, then you don't have to pay zakat for past years, because you are just getting that whole lump sum payment upon your retirement for loyal service. If they're giving you monthly payments afterwards, then there's no zakat in the entire amount. You don't have the entire amount, of course. Okay? Let me just finish this pyramid question later. Kya khayal hai? I just want to finish. Okay, last uncle, I respect his age. Social Security, what is going to be paid to you in the future, you don't have control. But if it's given to you, you have to give zakat on that. Pension, which is given to you, you have to give zakat on that. Which you don't have control, you don't have to. Yeah. Okay. So what? Debts and expenses, you can subtract them. We already covered this. I don't want to. Yeah, there are some questions here. If someone is not liable for zakat, are they eligible for it? I already mentioned this. This is a trick question. What is that? If they're not liable for zakat, they don't have to give zakat. Are they eligible to receive it? Not necessarily. You could be not liable and not eligible to receive. If you have a nisab but a year has not passed. Can you pay zakat on January 1st each year? Yes or no? Yes. No! It's solar year, January 1st. It has to be lunar. Right? Because this is 365 days, it's solar year. Okay, if a person has jewelry equal to nisab but no cash, is he or she still eligible for zakat? Eligible to receive? No. Is it permissible to give zakat to one's siblings? Yes. Okay. We talked about this eligibility of zakat, recipients of zakat. I just want to go over some questions here. Official zakat collector of the Muslim state. This is what we talked about. Okay, invalid recipients, non-Muslims, Hashemi, spouse. Scenarios. These scenarios are interesting. Okay, assume the nisab is 500. If Zayd has 499, now you have to think and apply what we learned. If Zayd has $499 in his bank, how much he has? Less than the nisab, 499. His house is worth $100,000. Car is worth $10,000. Does he have to pay zakat? No. Why? Because he only has 499. Okay, how about zakat? Zayd has $100 in his bank. A house worth 100,000, 2 vacation properties, each worth 50,000. Is he liable for zakat? No. Why? Because he has? No. But is he eligible to receive? No. Because he has, these other properties will be included in evaluation for being eligible to receive, but not when it comes to liability to give. Zayd has $250 in the bank, a house worth 100,000, a rental property worth 50,000. He has a total of $300 in rental income in addition to his bank balance. How much zakat will he pay? So he has $250 in the bank and rental property worth 50,000 and $300 in rental income. This is the rental income that he has right now that's coming, that he has due to him. So the rental property worth is 50,000. Is there zakat on that? No. House worth 100,000, zakat on that? No. 250 in the bank? Yeah, there would be, but it's under the nisab. But 300 rental income, you add that to 250, it becomes 550. So is the zakat is on 50 or 550? 550. The zakat will be on 550. Zayd has 250 in the bank and a house worth 100,000, one resale property worth 50,000, and one property for rent worth 75,000. So, right, $250 is zakatable? Yes. House worth 100,000 zakatable? No. Resale property worth 50,000 zakatable? Yes. Property for rent worth 75,000? No. So he has to pay zakat on 50,000, 250. Yeah. Adding rental income means just like you add your paycheck, you add your other salaries. It's already in your bank account, yeah. No. Adding rental income means that just put that in the same bucket. That's all it means. It's already in your checking account, that's great. Some people don't get that simple thing and they say that, oh, what do I do with this? So all we're saying is that you add that in the same bucket. That's all. Sometimes oversimplification complicates things. Okay, so the next thing is Zayd has $10,000 in the bank, 10,000 mashallah. Factory property worth 100,000, machinery worth 50,000, inventory worth 5,000. How much zakat should he pay? 15,000 is correct. 10,000 in the bank, zakatable. Factory property, not zakatable. Machinery, not zakatable. Inventory, zakatable. Zayd has $10,000 in the bank, 5,000 in 401k. Right? Machinery, that's 2,500 contributed by him, 2,500 company match. Now, the detail of this is a very important detail. The fuqaha say that, and this will make it easier for people, is they say that if the company match, if the company says you have no access to what we are matching until it matures, in that case, guess what? No zakat in past years. It is a gift that you receive upon maturity. If you are giving, that portion is zakatable. This reminded me when I saw the brackets. What you are investing from your savings, from your income, from your salary, and you're putting it, that much is zakatable. What The company is giving you, if they say that you cannot touch this match that we are giving you until you show your loyalty to our company for so many years, when you retire at this age, then you'll give it. Then it's like they're putting it aside in your name and they're giving you the gift only then. So it's not zakatable for the past years, the company match. Only your giving is zakatable. Is that clear? This is very important. Oh. Yeah, if a person was giving zakat on the entire 401k, even including what the company is matching, can he get a credit on his tax zakat calculation moving forward? Huh? Yeah, the thing is, you can technically give zakat in advance for the coming years if you make the niyyah so. That will definitely go in investment in your akhirah, in your thawab. Yeah, you will go for your Jannah inshallah and your reward, you will see that so much the reward and say, thank God I miscalculated. Huh? You can make the niyyah. After you got the sadaqah, make the niyyah that Isal Sawab for my father. Ya Allah, all the zakat I gave on the company match, I give it the thawab for that to my father. Inshallah. Huh? Yeah, he was giving the zakat for that year. He did not make the niyyah that this is zakat for future. He just gave the zakat. He gave, yeah. Okay, next one. Zayd has 100,000 in the bank. We did that one, right? Next one. Zayd has 10,000 in the bank, 5,000 in the 401k. Okay, 2,500 is contributed by him, 2,500 company match. All right. Oh, 1 second. I wanted to make it, where is it? This one, so we can see the whole thing. Yeah. And machinery worth 20,000, inventory worth 2,500. There is a $1,000 fine to withdraw the 401k at this time. How much zakat would he pay if the 401k is vested? What if it's unvested? So 10,000 that's in the bank, does he have to pay zakat on that? Yes. Now the 5,000 is 401k. 2,500 which is contributed by him is zakatable. 2,500 which is the company match is? If the company says your money, what is that called? Vested or unvested? Vested is zakatable. If it's unvested, it's theirs, you cannot touch it, then it's not zakatable. Different company has different policies. Machinery worth 20,000, not zakatable. Inventory worth 2,500 is zakatable. And the fine, I told you both opinions regarding excluding it. Okay, Allah, this thing is now, assumes the Nisab is 500. Zayd has 400 in the bank and his wife has $40,000 in gold and silver. How much zakat must he pay? It is not mandatory wajib on him to pay anything. Right? Because he can help out his wife. How much zakat should he pay? He should pay him. I'll change this to must he pay. How much zakat must he pay? Because you should help out your wife. So if it comes to how much you should pay, help out your wife because she helps you out, you help her out, you help each other out. That's a happy marriage. But the thing is, must you pay? Technically, you don't have to pay. You know how the accountants and they give you like different loopholes to avoid taxes? Right? That's fine if you want to avoid taxes, but legally, within the legal loopholes. But the thing is, there are different loopholes to avoid zakat. The muftis can give you, but that would be haram to do so. One of them is when I said a happy marriage, I said if there's a husband and wife, here they love each other so much, very loving couple. After 6 months pass, the husband says, you know wife, I love you so much darling, I will give you ownership of all my assets. After 6 months. And then she becomes owner of the entire assets, the entire estate. She's the owner of the whole estate. And then after 6 months, she says, darling, I love you so much, make you the owner of the whole entire estate. So there is no zakat on anyone, because they're owning the property only for 6 months. No one is owning the property for a year. So adopting such escape mechanisms is actually sinful to do so. This will become like what the Yahud did. Or you just invest all in diamonds. So diamonds are not zakatable, right? Platinum is not zakatable. Gold and silver is zakatable. There's a joint account. You know what? This is an important concept. In Islam, there's partnerships, but there is no concept of joint ownership. You know that? This is different to our environment where you jointly own houses. So it means that if there's a house, it could be 50% belongs to husband, 50% to the wife, or it could be 100% husband or 100% wife. But there is no concept of joint that they both own 100%. The husband owns the house 100% and the wife owns the house 100%. Doesn't work. In our Sharia, it's not like that. So when the husband dies, then the house goes into the wife's ownership 100%. Or when the wife dies, it goes 100% into the husband's ownership. No. If it's in the husband's name, every heir will get a share of that house. Every son and daughter and the wife. And if it's in the wife's name, her husband and children will get a share of that house. There is no concept of joint ownership. So if you have a joint account, it's either the husband's money or the wife's money from the Sharia perspective. And he is giving access to his wife and permission for her to use. But it's not her money, it's his money. Or it could be her money, it's not his money. Either way. Now, he asked the question, if there's a joint account and the wife paid the zakat without informing the husband. First of all, we destroyed the whole concept of a joint account, meaning joint ownership. It's either the husband's or the wife's. We have to determine who is it. If it's the wife is earning, mashallah, and it's her account and the husband has access to it and she paid the zakat, then it's ada. It's her money, she gave the zakat. And she doesn't have to seek the approval of the husband to fulfill the obligation she owes to Allah. And if it's the husband's account and he owns it, then he must have the niyyah. And if the wife pays the zakat on the joint account and it was the husband's property, without informing the husband, then zakat will not be considered discharged. Because innamal a'malu binniyat. Yeah, so if the husband has his own earning, the wife has her own earning, then that's their own ownership. And they put it into a joint account, they have to make a decision and come to a conclusion who is owning this joint account. Is either going to be the husband the owner or the wife the owner? These are interesting questions we never talked about last year. Or keep a separate account. Does it make, yeah. The wife is in Islam is entitled to have her own account, have her own ownership, have her own earning, have her own mahar, right? So, yeah, you could have a 50-50% partnership. You could have a partnership. You can have a partnership with a stranger too. So you can have a partnership with anyone. You can have a partnership with your spouse and say that 50-50. I'm saying is 100-100. Both own 100%. That's not right. Okay, Zainab has $10,000 in the bank. Gold that she wears worth 50,000. Silver she does not wear worth 500. Diamonds worth 30,000. How much zakat? 10,000 in the bank, is that zakatable? Yes. Gold that she wears worth 50,000 is zakatable? Yes. Silver she does not wear worth 500 is zakatable? Yes. Diamonds worth 30,000? No. Right. So these were some of the questions I wanted to go through so that it helps in understanding. And then we have on our website this zakat worksheet that I wanted to show you. So this is a worksheet. You can go on the website and download it. And this is some information again to remind you in case you forget. So you fill it up, the values here. In case you're worried that, oh, you missed it, that's why they put the house, non-zakatable, property, non-zakatable, furniture, non-zakatable, gold coins, gold jewelry, these are all zakatable. You fill it up. Okay, you can go through all of this. Diamonds, gemstones, non-zakatable, number 8 numbers, right? total zakat of assets, then liabilities. You deduct your loan on house, loan on vehicle, monthly payments, personal creditors, trade creditors, debts, monthly payment for your credit card, all the liabilities. Take total zakat of assets minus all the total liabilities, you get zakat amount, 2.5% of that. Yeah, so the 401k is, yeah, it is 401k is your money that you have. So it is, where is your property, where is, what, you should be, Number 14, investments. Investments are zakatable. So your 401k is an investment, but, so it's included there. To further clarification, we can add it. You can make that adjustment. Oh, by the time you reminded me about adding this, right? So, yeah, okay. It has to be added. Now there's a whole difference of opinion about, as I already told you, if it's vested, unvested, all the detail, how are we going to put that? We can try, inshallah, we can add it, but know loud and clear that if zakat is on the 401k, however, regarding those, the safest thing is don't even deduct the penalties and the tax. If you don't have the money to give it now, then you can give it after it matures. You can defer it. And if there's a company match, then you don't have to give it. Yes, Jasmine? Yeah, subhanAllah. So, yeah, the rule is as the rule is. You know, we did not make this up. This is what the Sharia says. But he asked a very important question. He's saying that if you invest $1 million in stock, then it's $25,000 zakatable. If you invested in real estate, then only maybe you get 10% in rental. So it'll be 2,500 zakat. So it'll be either 2,500 or 25,000. It depends on what you do. So this is a huge disparity. So it depends on your investment vehicle, as you beautifully put it. So the thing is, it's absolutely true. So this is, what is farad is farad. We can't change that. What is not farad is not farad. And on top of that, the door is open for sadaqah. The person who's investing in real estate and is making income, there is no limitation on him, a restriction that you cannot give sadaqah. He should give sadaqah. He can give up to 1/3 of his money in sadaqah. But farad zakat is not there. That's all that we're saying. We cannot increase. We can say that, you have more time. When you're working, you pray 5 times a day. Now that you retire, now that you're rich, you retired at the age of 35, Mubarak. Now you should start praying 10 times a day. Can we make that? We'll say, ab nafal padiye. Now you can pray tahajjud. Now you can pray awabin. You can do nafal. But we can't make the 5 salat and 10 salat just because you have more time. You're rich. You don't have to earn. The one poor guy who's earning, he prays 5 times. You are rich and you're retired at age 35, you pray 10 times. We cannot do that. The same thing. So if a person invests in real estate, there's less zakat. If a person invests in stocks, there will be more zakat. Right. Very good question. Yes. Yeah, this has specifically been answered. I recently read this fatwa as well. That he's saying that if you buy a property for rent, there's no zakat on it. But if there's stock in trade, there's zakat. So if you're buying and selling properties, then the entire value of the property is zakatable. What if you buy a property and you have an investment and you're having rental income, but eventually you're going to sell it? If you're going to eventually sell it, it's still not zakatable. When you actually physically put it on the market, It's still not zakatable until you sell it. When you sell it and the money comes into your account, and if it's there in your account in cash, then it's zakatable. No, short term, if it's there and then it gets reinvested in a non-zakatable asset, again it's not zakatable. If it happens that your zakat due date comes when it's in a cash form, then it will be zakatable. If he is buying and selling properties, right. So subhanAllah, I mean again, yeah, we did that. Yes. If
What happens if the intention is, hey, I bought the stock of Google, but I want to hold it for 5 years, 10 years. Then eventually I'm going to sell Google, right? I'm going to sell my 5 shares of Google eventually. But right now I just want to keep it from a long-term perspective for the next 5, 10 years.
Right. So if you buy a share and you buy the share in the stock and your intention is just hold on to it, not buying to sell, buying to sell indefinite amount of time.
But I'll eventually sell. When that eventually is, as you said, it may be 5 years, 10 years. But I'll sell that Google stock and I'll buy ABC at that time, or Alphabet, whatever.
Yeah. So then it falls in the second category. Zakat will be levied on the dividends and percentage of zakatable assets of the business. Now, if you want to go into the nitty-gritty and go and find out, as it says here, review the balance sheet and profit and loss account of the company. The part of these documents are available as part of the company's annual report. Find out how much percentage of Apple is of their assets cover their machinery and their buildings, and how much of it is in the form of stock in trade, cash, and receivables. That much percentage will be zakatable. Or to simplify it and just overpay your zakat, you can give zakat on the entire amount. But technically you don't have to. So that's what it says. If it's purchased to hold as an investment and generate dividends, the stock, the zakat will be levied on the dividends and percentage of the zakatable assets of the business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's a stock. But part of that is stock in trade. Part of Google, part of the ownership. That's what I'm saying. That ownership of that stock. There's dividends that are zakatable, and percentage of the zakatable assets of the business. Yeah, so that it'll be. You can find that out. Which percentage of the zakatable assets of the business. No. Ye- Yeah, no one is saying the poor should suffer. That's what I'm saying. You can give. Yeah. Right.
Is that quote unquote, as the accountant, a loophole?
You can call it a loophole if you want. No. Yeah. Okay, we also had questions from the sisters. Let's see what they have sent on here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One question from the sister: can we give zakat to someone to pay off credit card loans who keep getting in credit card debts years after years? We can give, they need to become more fiscally responsible, but based on the nature of your question, sister, you're saying they keep on getting credit card debts years after years, third year now. So there's a level of frustration with this individual. So you can try to make them fiscally responsible. However, technically, if you give them zakat money, the zakat will be considered discharged. A lot of times parents support their unemployed baligh children to the point where credit cards are given, cars are being provided to them, etc. How can we give zakat to such baligh children? Don't give zakat to such baligh children. You don't have to. I was saying if there's a needy family who is really needy, but technically they might have some gold in Pakistan, India, somewhere, then you can't give them zakat money because they have that gold. So just give it to the children. But if they are baligh children that are receiving cars and the credit cards and money from their rich parents, don't give them zakat. Of course not. So there's some question about this Believers Bailout website. I need to research this further about, I have not come across this. Project providing bond payment and support services for Muslim prisoners. I can look at it, inshallah. If you email me, I can, after researching it, or email you back. MashaAllah, looks like a great project, believersbailout.org. I cannot really comment on it until I look at it. This question she's asked, some sisters asking about, since the 401k plan is held by third party under strict IRS rules, hypothetical withdrawal and hypothetical access without applying for it on the basis of hypothetical hardship, how can it be zakatable when the access is hypothetical only? That's why we're saying that if it's from the company, vested by the company, and they're going to give you at the end, it's not zakatable. If it's your money that you're choosing to put aside, then it's your money. And you're choosing not to access it. You're putting it, so it's your money. So only your contribution is zakatable. And it's just like you put it in a box under your bed in a mattress and say, I'm not going to touch this. It's your money, it's zakatable. You put it in a bank, I'm not going to touch it. You invested in your own 401k. So that's why it's zakatable. We have some questions that were sent here earlier also. Let me get these, the written questions. What is the difference between zakah, fitrah, sadaqah, hadiyah, fidya? Who is eligible to receive it, who is not eligible to? See, basically, there are two categories of zakah, sadaqah. One is called sadaqat wajiba, one is sadaqat nafila. Voluntary charity and obligatory charity. Obligatory charity, sadaqah wajiba, includes zakat. Obligatory charity includes zakat, which is the major portion of it, and also any type of fidya that is given. For example, fidya for breaking an oath, qasam. If a person takes an oath and breaks it, he has to feed 10 miskin. Fidya that is given because you are fasting and you cannot, if Ramadan comes and you're not able to fast. So one sadaqat al-fitr amount per day. Sadaqat al-fitr for everybody at the end of Ramadan before Eid, we're going to give $6 minimum per person. So these are all sadaqat wajiba. And the recipients for sadaqat wajiba are
restricted, and they have those specifications. Can't be your father, mother, can't be your daughter, son, can't be your spouse, can't be must be a Muslim, can't be a non-Muslim, cannot be a Banu Hashim. All those restrictions apply. To which one? Sadaqat wajiba. Whether it's zakat, whether it's fidya, whether it's sadaqatul fitr. And then nafal sadaqah. Nafal sadaqah has no restrictions. You can give it to Muslim, non-Muslim also. You can give it for wells. You don't have to have tamliq. You can give it for projects. You can give it to masjids. You can give it to madrasa construction. This is all sadaqah nafila. It can be a person who is rich, technically rich, meaning he has nisab, but he is needy. You can give him sadaqah nafila. Hadiyah is a gift. Okay, that question. There was another printed, somebody brought these questions, huh? Nafal sadaqah can be given to Sayyids, must be given to needy Sayyids from the family of Rasulullah. Nafal sadaqah. Yeah. Sadaqat nafila can be given to Sayyids. If they have the name Sayyid in front of their name, but if they actually believe that they are from the family of Rasulullah and they have some strong reason to believe, then you should not give them zakat. Give them sadaqah nafila. Yeah. Yes?
So, for the institution, right, like if you give zakat to someone who's collecting on behalf of like do they have to give the zakat to the children, or can they directly give the fees? Is it okay to directly?
No. When the zakat is collected for an institution like ourselves, we give it to the students who are needy. And then they pay their fees. We don't directly take it as fees. I think some of these questions were already answered. Aapka hai ye? Okay. Can zakat money, number 6 here, can zakat money be set aside and given when an appropriate person is found even after years passed? Yes. You can separate it. You can separate it, and that's why we said you have to have the niyat when you separate the zakat money. And then keep on giving from it as the needy persons come. Should administration costs be given separately? Yes. Is it true for masjids and madrasa collecting zakat? For us, no. I can't speak on behalf of others because we give it 100%. There's no overhead. About other relief organizations, we covered that. We talked about 401k. If you don't have enough money, then you can give it later. Remaining funds can be paid later. Tax and penalty 401k, we talked about. There's two opinions regarding that. Tax form does not have 401k, we talked about that. Jazakallah. So officially we can end the session and take questions offline. Take, people can, what time is it now? It's 4:15. Allah ke bande. Right. All right.
You talked very briefly about us putting away money for our children's education, and that would not be zakat. But like a 529 fund, right? If I open up a 529 fund in the line of fund, whatever, I'm still the owner of the funds, and I say my beneficiary is my son and so, right? So how does that work? Because technically, again, just using that example.
Yeah, Amr bin As and Abdullah bin Amr As, they had a 12.5-year difference, the father and son. You know that? Amr bin As, in Jahiliyyah, he impregnated his wife when he was 12 years old, and she had an early delivery after 6 months. So Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As, and his father and son, there was a 12.5-year difference. Anyway, go on.
Is when it comes, because I'm confused on if that's zakatable or not to me, if it's saved.
Yeah, so basically, if you have the money in your account and your son is a beneficiary, then it's zakatable because it's your money still. If you set it aside, I will give it. If it's actually in the name, like his ownership.
You can't have it here in America, you can't put the 529 plan as the owner of the child.
So I need to study this plan further. Like, what does it mean? That you have complete control over it? You can take out money from it? You can take it and spend it on your vacation? You say, Batan alayhi, let me take it for my own. No, so if there's restrictions, if it's limited, like it's only specified for this and you cannot take it back, and only he with his social security number, your child, and he is the only one who can access it, then we have to examine it. The basic ruling is if it's in the ownership and possession of that child, then it's non-zakatable. But if it's in your ownership and possession, it isn't. Now we have to determine where this particular plan falls by studying it. Yeah. I'm just giving you the principle, you have to apply it. Yeah, that's talking about different things in UK. That's why I went fast over that. Yeah.
One practical tip on the 401k vested and non-vested. Typically, when you go to your account, like Fidelity or Bond or whatever,
Yeah.
they very clearly say this is vested and this is not vested. So for calculating the tax, you always use the vested amount.
The vested.
They clearly,
Yeah, he's saying when you go on your 401k plan, they will tell you clearly this much is vested, this much is unvested, so you only have to calculate on the vested amount. So it's not that hard, inshallah. May Allah reward everyone. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakallahu Khair for being very engaging audience. May Allah accept it. And by his concern is there that, he has a genuine feeling for the needy. I understand. This is very good that we have the fear, I'm just saying what is the obligation from the Sharia perspective. Those of us who are investing in non-zakatable assets, we should feel a burden upon ourselves that let us not be using this as a loophole. Let us give sadaqah. Let us try to give more. Calculate it as if I want to just be careful that I don't want to make something farad and binding if the Sharia does not support me on that, because I feel for the needy. I have to say it as it is, but on top of that, there is, on top of zakat, there is a right of the poor. وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. We should give sadaqah. We need to. When I'm talking about masjids are non-zakatable, when I'm saying madrasa is non-zakatable, and now, what am I saying? Am I saying by any means don't build masajid? We have to with sadaqah. So sadaqah is important, it's necessary there. Zakat is only one thing. Let us not limit our giving to zakat. We have to give sadaqah. Banu Hashim, Banu Hashim, family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We said family of Rasulullah can't give zakat. Are we saying let the family of Rasulullah starve? You must give sadaqah. It's just a different name. Zakat is different. This is one particular category. Sadaqah is a different category. That is equally a must in certain situations. May Allah Ta'ala give us a reality. Jazakullahu Khairun. Yeah, we can. It's free copyright is there, so I can. You can send an email to the info@DS Masjid DS, and we can email it to you. Or I don't know, what do you want us to do? We can email it to the entire listserv, huh? Google it. Yeah, you can Google it. It's free copyright. The link was there, right?
My $80
Yeah, if you give a zakat to a tax deductible organization and you get tax back, that's jaiz. Because if you give $100 in zakat and you get $20 back, you're not getting $20 back from your zakat. It's $20 back from the tax. So if you get a tax refund from your zakat, it's permissible for you to use it. You don't have to give that back out in zakat.